Mr. Tapley here for your next lesson of Year 10 Geography. This lesson we're expanding upon the previous lesson where we looked at climate change, the knowledge of climate change I suppose. This lesson we're looking at our skills, so our data interpretation skills, being able to look at a map, a graph and say, well, what does that tell me, why is it important, and what can we learn from it? Success criteria is to be able to accurately interpret and evaluate climate change data in graphs and maps, and then connect the research and statistics to the causes and effects of climate change. This is the skill that we really practice in our dev task, in our forest change and management dev. I have marked those, I've uploaded the results. Not everyone completed it, but those who did really well. You know, I gave out a lot of outstandings and excellence, which really bodes well for the cat, I'd say. So well done guys. If you have questions about the results for the dev, please let me know. Cool. So this lesson, looking at some cheeky data and statistics. As I said before, we looked at our knowledge of climate change last lesson. This lesson we're expanding that and developing our skills in data interpretation. In geography, we represent information visually. So we don't want you to be reading textbook after textbook after textbook in geography. It's not like English or history. It's more about the visuals of graphs, maps, infographics, nice colorful stuff to help us understand these complex topics. If you are confronted with a climate change graph or a 20-page climate change essay, you're probably going to look towards the graph, which is why it is important to be able to identify patterns or trends in these visual representations of data, these maps and graphs. Being able to understand the significance of the information and then explain that information to other people. So what we're doing this lesson is completing a little worksheet, a little climate change data worksheet located in Google Classroom assignments. The worksheet can be submitted at the end of the lesson. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. I haven't had any technical difficulties with this in the past, but let me know if that is an issue. So this is where it's located in Google Classroom assignments. You can see it hasn't been scheduled to appear yet, but I'll have that appear in your Google Classroom just before the lesson starts. Just need to click on that and you'll get this little Google Doc, little worksheet. So I've got the instructions up here, and all you really need to do is examine these different graphs. So I've got 1, 2, 3, and 4 graphs related to climate change. So this one looks at the sea level, how it's rising. This one looks at the ice sheets in Antarctica, how they're melting. And this one looks at the CO2, carbon dioxide, in the world's atmosphere. So all of that is connected to climate change. What you need to do is look at those graphs and then very carefully match the graphs with the statement at the end of the document. So I've got 4 graphs and 4 statements here. All you really need to do, looks like a lot of information, it's a very fancy mix and match. All you really need to do is say graph 1, that connects to statement blank. Graph 2, that connects to statement 3, 4, 1 or 2. So you're really just mixing and matching these graphs and statements. So it's not too complex, it just requires you to do some reading and some viewing. After completing the lesson activity, just write a couple of sentences, a little reflection, personal reflection on your level of understanding of climate change. So you don't need to be a master, you just need to understand the definition, the causes and the effects, and you're just writing that at the end of the document. So after you've mixed and matched those 4 graphs and statements, a couple of sentences here, just to get you guys thinking about what you know and what you need to know, and 2, if you guys put in any issues or questions and everyone says the exact same thing, I will know, okay, we need to spend more time on this, I'll slow down and we'll look at this in more detail. The other thing I've put in this document, a couple of definitions, so a little glossary of key terms. So if you're having trouble understanding some of the things in these graphs or in the statements, look at this glossary and that should help you with some of the more complex sciencey fancy sounding terms. And then you just need to smash hand in or submit or whatever it's called before the end of the lesson. And yeah, that's all you're working on this lesson guys. If you have any questions or concerns, please let me know. If you have questions about the dev, about the feedback you've been given or the results, again, please let me know and I'll be happy to discuss them in more detail. Otherwise, best of luck for this activity. Hope you're well, and cheers.